Welcome to the E-Commerce Growth Show, brought to you by Segmentify.
I'm honored to have you joining us today. The E-Commerce Growth Show, it's a project, as I said, a global project by Segmentify, our sponsor. I always start my content with the big picture. So Ashley is a China marketing expert, founder of Alarice ChoZan, LinkedIn top voice, ChoZan, global speaker, 3 times best-selling author. So the CV is quite impressive. So why don't you share with us your big picture, and how did you come about, getting in China and becoming a China expert? I always like the personal side of things. I think it gets more interesting.
Absolutely. So I was actually born in Asia, in the Russian Far East. My hometown is about 30 minutes drive from mainland China. And I have always been exposed to Japanese, Koreans, and Chinese, obviously, population. And when I was 17 years old, I moved to mainland China to study. And that time it was a boyfriend of mine was studying Chinese, and now I felt that mainland would be a great place to go together, to study, to explore, to get acquainted, etc. So it wasn't for the love of dragons or kung fu or noodles like a lot of foreigners back in the day. It was really a decision of love. You go there together and you develop in that part of the world. I traveled to China before as a child. In fact, my first trip abroad was to Japan and Korea, and my second trip abroad was to mainland China. So that's how close indeed that geography is. And when I got to mainland, that's exactly where all this beautiful digital revolution and evolution was happening. So globally we had Facebooks and the likes, just being basically created and taking over the world. And China became instantly a very active participant of this social and digital transformation. So people went from no phone, no computers, to everybody was carrying a smartphone, and they were reasonably priced, and internet was accessible, and people were on social media. Back in the day, Google was still a part of China's digital ecosystems, and the Facebook was there, and of course a lot of local players. So within a couple of years, very, very quickly, I saw how China digitized and how social media became core of everything you do in China in terms of commerce, in terms of communication, in terms of marketing. Slowly and gradually, it basically grabbed more and more budgets from very traditional offline advertising, TV advertising, etc., etc. And it was very, very fun. It was a new breed of consumers, a new breed of platforms, new breed of content, all coming together. So that is why, after graduating from university, I studied business and economics in mainland China with mainland Chinese. So I did my linear algebra in Chinese. So after graduating from university, I also relocated to Hong Kong. I felt that, it's a more international place, but still very, very close to mainland China. And I wanted to keep that connection. I basically moved here, started a career, worked for other companies first as a PR manager, helping international brands to get into China. And then in 2011, set up my own firm. And right now I have 2 companies, both in Hong Kong and Shenzhen, working in the China digital marketing space. One of them is an agency doing stuff for the brand, and the other one is educating and providing insights. So big companies already have agencies and have huge teams, but what they need is really training and insights. So that's where we come in.
Impressive. Let me ask you one thing. Your English is there's maybe a British accent, and the question I have is, where does that come from? Just out of curiosity, because you're Russian yourself, right? You're from Russia?
Yes, I was born in Russia. I was born in the last years of Soviet Union, and when I was little, I studied very briefly in the UK, and then I studied in New Zealand because my brother was sent by my dad to study in New Zealand. And then I came to China, and my whole accent was destroyed because people could not understand British accent. They couldn't understand New Zealand accent. So I had to speak for people to understand me. So hence I have this mixture of accents. And a lot of people actually say, "Oh, Ashley, are you from South Africa?" I was like, "Not really."
No.
Very close.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have a couple of friends. They took their PhD and now working. They're from New Zealand, but I mean I couldn't spot that. So it's cool. It's cool. Here in Denmark, and she's actually Lisa. She's also from Russia and moved when she was very little to New Zealand.
The story
yeah.
of our generation.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. All right, so let's get to China. So just help me define what actually China is, and forgive me for my ignorance. So you said mainland, but there's also Hong Kong. Can you give us the big picture of China first, so we get into the economics, pre-pandemics, post-pandemics, what's actually happening in the country now?
Right. So I'm not an expert on Chinese geography, hence this is a layman's view on China. But essentially, yes, there is mainland China, People's Republic of China, right, the mainland, and then there is Hong Kong and Macau. They are special administrative regions of China, and then of course there is an island of Taiwan. So within China's view, these things constitute China, right? There's mainland China, 31 provinces. There are 2 administrative regions and cities, and there is the island of Taiwan.
All right, cool. Thanks. So yeah, in regards to the economy, maybe can you talk a little bit about China? What was going on pre-pandemics? We knew that China is a force. It's a behemoth. It grows. It was growing at 2 digits or a digit and fast, and industrialization coming at full speed. Then the pandemics hit the world, but it seems that China is probably one of the only countries recovering. So can you comment a little bit of what's happened before and what's going on now in China, as you see, working with brands and international brands as well, and yeah.
Absolutely. So even before the pandemic, China was already the most digitized nation in the world in many, many respects. In particular, when it comes to digital economy, when it comes to e-commerce, when it comes to online content creation and consumption, online entertainment, services like e-government, etc. So even before the pandemic, that was the case. And in China, everything happens at China speed, which means very, very fast. So what happened during and after the pandemic is that speed only accelerated, and that integration of digital elements into each facet of life in China has only accelerated. For example, if before the pandemic, very few percentage-wise people in the country had access to online education, right now virtually 90% of students have experienced online education. They, apart from going to school, also have, let's say, toys for little kids that train and check the progress of the kids and report back to the teacher. There are also like TV channels that are running in some rural areas where this TV education, online education is happening, and a child can scan a QR code to answer the questions, and really it's very, very interactive. So that got really, really popular. Working on a distance, right? Distance work, using tools such as, let's say, DingTalk and WeChat work became an absolute must for China. Even before we worked on WeChat and everything was happening, like nobody's using really emails, but it just went to the next level in terms of acceptance, in terms of the features, in terms of, day-to-day just activities. In terms of e-government, right? All of the services, I mean, registering a child, registering a marriage, registering a divorce, or whatever else you may think of, paying your taxes, paying your utility bills, applying for licenses, or even parking your car. It happens very often within your WeChat or Alipay, let's say, mini program. But essentially it is connected to your digital wallet is connected to your identity. So that is why in China I can walk onto the plane without boarding pass, just with my face, because there's this facial recognition connected through my wallet, through essentially me as a person, and to all life services. So China, through the pandemic, has accelerated. And one of the big things that has accelerated is, of course, the content creation, entertainment. People were stuck for a few months, and just like the rest of the world is going through those waves and waves, China had its share probably before the rest of the world got there. And, there was fear, there were lockdowns, there was this need to take your mind off it. There was a lot of entertainment. There was a lot of shopping done online. So again, the share of that has significantly improved and increased. So in China right now, about 35 to 40% of all retail sales are actually happening online. And China is, when it comes to online commerce, China is also the #1 market in the world for the past 6-7 years in a row. So it's exciting what has happened. And right now, of course, we are introducing also digital RMB, right? Digital yuan, which is the government cryptocurrency,
Right.
digital currency, right? And of course, there are a lot of like social ranking, and there's so many initiatives that are happening to just make this digital lifestyle a norm. People are receiving salaries in digital yuan already. When you cross the road on the wrong, let's say, flash of the traffic light, you're also being either rewarded or penalized for doing that. So it's very interesting what's happening in China right now. And in many ways, in such industries as, let's say, electric cars or the future of mobility, and e-governance, as I mentioned, and of course, e-commerce and content creation and live streaming and all that, we call it all new retail, etc. AI as well, implementation of AI in a variety of manufacturing facilities, daily kind of offices or homes. I mean, China is ahead of the world in so many areas. It's not maybe ahead of the world when it comes to creating those technologies, but it is definitely ahead of the world when it comes to implementing it at scale, learning from it, and basically, implementing it even further, taking those learnings into account.
No, it's awesome. I mean, it's awesome because I think, you know, the media the media never helps, in my opinion. When we hear stuff, it's really hard to get a filter on what's going on. So that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to have like an insider. For example, when I live in Denmark, and then when I tell my stories to my friends in Brazil, you know, and stuff like that, it's so different, right? When you pick someone who's an insider. But a few things that you said just blew my mind. So for example, we're gonna talk about retail as well, but you said about it was related to misconceptions, my question. So you said emails. Yeah, people don't barely use emails, right? And I think obviously emails are a trend that is just going down. Probably, hopefully they're gonna disappear. But you said that people barely use emails today in China. And that is just a very, very small example of how different, how advanced things are there, and how people act differently. And so I like to ask you and talk about misconceptions, because I know from a very shallow, you know, point of view that in China you have, let's say, tiers, right? Different cities, and you divide them in tiers. And so I think in the email I sent you, sorry about that, I don't have WeChat. In the email I sent you, I said that one Scandinavian player, very large, they hired a guy and thought it was about it because he spoke Mandarin or whatnot. They'd be, you know, good to go, and they failed like big. You know, a couple of million of dollars that was just went down the drain. So, and I think that's a scenario that is more common than we think of it, right? So maybe I'd like you to talk about some of the, you know, the general misconceptions, and then we talk about business and branding and stuff like that. You shared some really interesting numbers also on. I mean, it's no longer a unique selling point to be an international cool brand, right? No one cares about it. So yeah, maybe you can comment about it.
Absolutely. So in terms of general misconceptions, I think each country has their own information field and information shield, and very often people form their opinion or perception of the country or business opportunities based on that shield. So it's very difficult to comment in general. What do people think of Chinese? Because again, people in Russia might think different things compared to those in the US or Brazil or you know, Belgium or wherever else. But in general, I would say that current media climate is definitely not very favorable towards Chinese. What I read from Western media about China, it's always, or most often, very negative. It's always scary. It's always like the worst case scenario, and it's very careful and kind of on the. I remember a good friend of mine actually working in the, diplomatic circles, and basically he said that if you are in any way not even pro-China, but you are not against it vocally, then this is political suicide. And that person works in the US, and he is a long-time China watcher. And I just felt that, that probably represents what the big climate, right, is. And of course, ordinary people, what do? They read through this media, they read through this flow of information, and they form their opinions. And very often they are thinking about, okay, there's some very basic conceptions. There's a lot of Chinese people. Previously, everybody thought that Chinese people are super poor, and right now they think Chinese people are super rich. And I don't know what they hate more. Do they hate more poor China? Do they hate more rich China? And previously they feared that, communism was so bad because obviously it was bad for the Chinese people, and the free world was gluttoned upon by this system. But right now they're really afraid that, oh my God, communism is actually working. They are becoming more powerful, and they can win in this digital revolution. I mean, these are the worries that I think everyday people have. And they still believe that, China, when it comes to business practices, they believe that Chinese are deceitful, and they want to come to Europe and purchase all the great European companies. And they think that if they come to basically their own products in China are low quality, and that is why whatever I have internationally produced, I can just sell to China very easily because there's so much demand, and they are so stupid, and they're not very sophisticated, and they have money. So I do not know. It just comes from, I believe, this media shield that people are exposed to, and there's a lot of misconception, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of really there's very little human stories, and that's what I think is very difficult to overcome, because once you start talking about the people as just there's this China and that's how different it is, and you need to fear it, or you don't understand it and that's why you fear it, that becomes dangerous. You need to connect with Chinese people as people, and they are wonderful people, and they do have great and rich culture, and they are doing many things right, and they are digitally very advanced, and they do have money, but many of them don't. And it's so diverse. China is a country of 1.44 billion people. So 1.4 billion people are definitely very different and diverse. And in business, misconceptions are also plenty. Right now, everybody understands that, yes, it's a different market, but at the same time, they very often do not understand that you need to be very locally relevant, that you need to invest a lot of money and a lot of time into that business. And if you are not ready to commit time and money, you will not succeed, you will fail. The fact that you need to have a few partners, not just one guy, as you said, who's going to set your China, right? I mean, this is impossible. There needs to be legal advisors that help you register your companies, your legal setup and your trademarks and whatever else. There needs to be, if you are in B2C business, Taobao partners, some online distributors who do that as their core business. There needs to be a marketing company that actually produces content for you, because nobody else can do it at the initial stage. And then there needs to be your in-house team that kind of moderates it all. And as your business in China grows within the next 2 years, you can also build your in-house team capabilities to take some of these functions in-house. So there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to the depth of understanding of what China is right now. And yes, there are opportunities, and yes, there are money to be made. And no, it's not easy. And yes, it's going to take time and money and budgets and focus and reinventing your product and yourself and your team structure and many other things.
Very nice. Just something that just came to mind now. You said about, so we spoke about, right. So you mentioned commerce, my other question. Then you spoke now about digital. Somehow you touched ecosystems, but we didn't speak about it. Content localization, right? So first question I have is, Is there a market for expats as well, like non, Mandarin speakers or Cantonese speakers or whatnot? Like, how big is that market? If you know, like,
To do what? To do what?
To sell services or products, or
right. So
does it
in
make sense?
China,
I'm just
right.
thinking here.
Right. If you want to be a live streamer in China, you need to be registered with the authorities. You can't just go live and on Instagram and start talking about, I do not know, this beautiful phone that you would like to sell to the masses.
Really?
So you need to be, of course, you need to be registered with authorities, because you are part of the commerce and you are using public space, and essentially there needs to be an endorsement. So if I am a foreigner that is registered in China and I get this permit from a relevant department, then I can go live. So I can start becoming a blogger. I can essentially, really participate in this live streaming e-commerce business. So I'm not talking about just going live or sharing pictures on Douyin, but I'm talking about really doing it as a business with the purpose to sell and engage community and building and activating your fan base. So if I am registered and suddenly, Carlos, you come on my show and you're not registered, that's not allowed as well. So two foreigners cannot just appear together and try to activate and sell to the same database. Most of the foreigners in China at this stage are English teachers. So essentially they have their shows and they have their followership because they teach Chinese students and other participants how to speak proper English. They're usually funny. They speak Chinese very often, so they can relate, make jokes between English and Chinese, etc., etc. There's also a big kind of fandom community where, for example, you are a foreigner and you can sing or dance and you enter one of those reality shows in China, and then you become one of the top contestants. For instance, a few years ago there was a guy from Kazakhstan, his name is Dimash. This year there's a guy from Russia. I think 2 years ago there was a guy from Australia. I mean, obviously, you sing, especially if you sing in Chinese, and you are kind of unusual, whatever that may mean for the local TV station. You have opportunity to become popular as well. So then you need to see how do you monetize and how do you activate it. When it comes to foreigners really participating and selling Chinese products and being, let's say, live streamers or bloggers, as such, sometimes they are brought in by the local boju to be kind of an addition to the show, but very rarely they run their own shows about like content-driven shows. They're usually, again, as I said, it's English courses or it's some other entertainment endorsements, etc., etc.
All right, cool. So talking about the the size of commerce, because in Brazil, like even after the pandemics, I think we have about 7-8% tops, and that is excluding travel, of the population now that are buying online, and it's a lot of people. Like in China, you said it's 35 to 40%, 35 to 40, yeah.
No, 35. I said that when it comes to all retail, that happens in China. That's about 40% of it happens online. That's online retail. Yes.
It's a lot.
But when it comes to number of Chinese people that are actually purchasing online, so there was recently a survey done by the Statistics Department, National Statistics Department of China, and 75% of people that are online, that are connected online population, have previously purchased online. And about 93% of them have watched live streaming videos and short videos online. So almost everyone essentially is watching videos online.
Wow.
And about 75% of the total online population has purchased online before. And that number is growing because China also right now, last year, has eliminated poverty. And for the next 5 years, a big push goes into the villages and countryside to digitize it in the form of, okay, you don't just have a phone and connection to the internet and roads and electricity and pavement and bathrooms, but that you understand how to be part of that economy. So that's why Pinduoduo and many other platforms like Alibaba and Jingdong are also trying to enter these lower tier cities in order to enable them to do commerce, to do business, to connect with the outside world through those digital channels. So digital literacy, that's the proper word that we are focusing on in China right now, is definitely a big topic.
Awesome, and I think that's the perfect segue to speaking about ecosystems. So you mentioned a few, and so how important are they? Like when you want to understand China and the economy and the digital economy, everything is digital, anyways. How important are these ecosystems, such as Alibaba, Taobao? Then you can correct me, and
Absolutely. So ecosystems are the model in which China builds its digital reality. So you have the big government direction, which says, okay, guys, right now AI is important. So let's do more AI. A couple of years ago, entrepreneurship was important. So China government says, let's have more entrepreneurs. Let's just all do business, etc., etc. So there is this big government direction, central government. Then there is local government activation. So how does the local government support local businesses and local population to actually act on it? And then there are tech giants. So tech giants are Alibaba, Tencent, Jingdong, Baidu, Meituan Dianping, you name them, right? So these big companies, think about Googles and Facebooks and LinkedIn's, or Microsoft owns LinkedIn, right, of the world. These tech giants are working very closely with startup entrepreneurs, small businesses, local merchants, as well as government, because all of the tech giants in China are one way or another plugged into e-government. For example, in Hangzhou, the birthplace of Alibaba, Hangzhou is run on Alibaba ecosystem, right? Then there is Shenzhen. They have a few tech giants to choose from. They have Huawei, they have, of course, Tencent, etc. So Beijing has their own champion. So all these different companies are a part of running a smart city, a part of this smart government plug-in, etc., etc. So together, these ecosystems are actually building everything as a service. What do I mean by everything as a service? It means if I am a brand, I no longer need to go and develop my own manufacturing facilities and develop my own sales channels. I can just go to this company, for instance, ByteDance. And ByteDance has all these different ways to serve me. One way is I can create content and I can sell. At the same time, I can create through their manufacturing facilities and their supply chain, create and distribute my product. So I go into ecosystem because they are not just a platform, but they are a way to serve me, to provide me retail as a service, manufacturing as a service, supply chain as a service, banking as a service, etc., etc. Anything that I need to support my business is essentially provided by this ecosystem. And right now, there are a few ecosystems in China. Some of them are more complete than others. For example, Alibaba is the most complete ecosystem at this stage. There's also Tencent Plus, which is Tencent plus Jingdong. They are a mutually kind of combined ecosystem. They're supporting each other in the areas where each of them is weak. So together they form a rather complete ecosystem. There's ByteDance, and as I mentioned, many others. So yes, they are building, they each are trying to build this comprehensive way for you as a merchant to create products, to sell them to consumers, to entertain the consumers and keep them coming back for more, to understand data, to do all these things, to do banking and finance. They are all looking into basically the same things. And that is how China is able so quickly to activate their digital vision, because it's not one company that's trying to activate all social media like Facebook, right? And then purchase it Instagram and then etc. It's a few companies that are working in these different areas, and they are all building those essentially ecosystems. And right now, because there are those antitrust investigations and laws that are being finally pushed out by the China government, it's actually very good because China allows you to innovate, and they say everything is allowed. until it's prohibited. And that's the beauty of it. So if I'm a business owner, okay, everything is allowed unless certain things are specifically prohibited. In the West, it's usually everything is prohibited unless it's specifically allowed. So they innovate. It arrives at a stage where it needs to be regulated. And that's when government steps in. And that's when government also guides this conversation forward. So at this stage, this conversation has started with the renewed force. And it also means that right now merchants don't need to choose anymore between one or two platforms. They can be part of several ecosystems, and essentially it is, you know, healthy for the market. It's very good for the consumer. And I believe that, yeah, ecosystems in China are truly remarkable, and all of the multinationals and tech companies from around the world shall be learning from them right now.
Sure. So before, just so I understand, before, like, a merchant could not be part of more than one ecosystem? Is that correct?
You could be a part, but there would be, if you're a big merchant, then some of the big companies, that's why the investigations are happening right now. Some big companies say, you know, if you want to get more free traffic, so I can give you more, like for your advertising dollar, I can give you more. But if you do that, I want to limit your presence on some other platforms. For example,
gotcha.
I'm joking, of course. I mean, I don't want to name names, but just as an example, let's say, I don't know, you are Disneyland, and right now Alibaba says, you know what, if you as Disneyland want to get more traffic, free traffic, I don't want you to sell tickets to your park with XYZ discount, you know, on Jingdong, stuff like that, right? So, and that's where the investigations are at this stage.
Perfect. So just another question then about the environment for entrepreneurs. So you have your agency. Does the government also, you know, supports? Did you have governmental support, like as an entrepreneur, to build your business? And is there?
So, yeah, at this stage, I did not have any government support, even though I must say, you can apply for grants. So, for example, my business is in Hong Kong, so our headquarters is in Hong Kong. And I started my business with my own money. I never took money from outside investors. I'm the sole owner and all that. And the support that Hong Kong government is giving me, first of all, it's a very easy, relaxed kind of you know, setup process and reporting process. The taxes are low, etc., etc. And at the same time, when the pandemic hit, all of Hong Kong businesses received government support. So it's not my business, but every business, where you, whether you are a hotel or a restaurant or a chemical business or a digital agency, every business received support from the government for not firing employees. So if you started with 25 people and by the end of the year, last year, you, let's say, were still 25 people, then you would get this government support. When it comes to mainland China, you can apply for a lot of grants. For example, if you are a tech company, there are grants by the government, by central government, by local government. There are a lot of grants by tech giants as well that are trying to, just like in the West, trying to figure out, you know, what are some of the cool innovations, etc. If you are in, let's say, agency business, and if you are in any culture promotion business, you can also get tons and tons of, I believe, support. But you need to also weigh how much is that support. Let's say they give you 1 million RMB, and how much reporting will you have to be doing in order to justify that. So I think every business decides for themselves. For some really small startups, if I was starting my business like right now, maybe I would have gone for government support. Why not? But because I already have a certain scale of business, I just feel that it's too mafan, it's too troublesome to go through all that process at this stage for the reward that I'm getting. But there are opportunities, absolutely. And China is definitely focusing on getting the Greater Bay Area started. And past pandemic, I mean, in 2022, maybe towards the end of the year, we are really going to see, I believe, how this part of the world opens up to innovation, to international entrepreneurs. There will be funds, there will be, you know, innovation centers, very attractive for, I believe, both local, as of Chinese, and international entrepreneurs.
Perfect. Just two final questions. So the first one is regarding, the payment, which is part of an ecosystem, super apps. and perhaps a little bit of the behavior of Chinese consumer, and then trends that you're seeing, moving forward.
So what is the question again?
I like you to talk. Sorry. I like you to talk a little bit about the relevance of super apps in China. It's maybe not really a question, but maybe if you can talk a little bit about super apps, what are they? How people pay for stuff, for groceries and stuff like that, and then just pick your brain on how do you see the world moving forward in China? What are some of the major trends like social commerce? What are you seeing?
Right. So when it comes to super apps, right now we spoke about ecosystems, and parts of those ecosystems are obviously, super apps. And one of the most well-known super apps is WeChat. There's also Alipay. There's also Douyin can be called a super app in some instances. Pinduoduo can be called a super app in some instances again. But if we look at WeChat, the most developed one, what sets it apart is the fact that there are live services. It means that you can merge online and offline through scanning the QR codes, through integrating and announcing your digital identity in this offline or online setting through this app. And yes, there are payment gateways, there are investment gateways, there are ways to communicate with your community, post content, record videos, and all that. But the power of it lies in mini programs. And mini programs, as mentioned, is really this app within an app. So everything that Android store has, or everything that Apple Store has, you can also build within WeChat. You can build any kind of app that tells you the star charts, or that tells you what's your day gonna look like, or which tracks your sleeping cycles or whatever else. You can build anything and everything, tracking your husband around the city. You can build it all within WeChat, and you don't need to open any additional applications or download anything in order to access it. So that's the power of super apps. They're everywhere in China, and I'm sure you guys have seen that QR codes in China are very widespread. And if you look at some packaging, sometimes you see a banana in 7-Eleven and it has 3 QR codes, one from 7-Eleven, another one from the banana company, and the third one from the logistics company that brought this banana from a warehouse to 7-Eleven. Why? Because people do scan QR codes and they want to find out either more information, or they want to see this little dude that pops up on the screen and tells them how to cook a banana or how to eat a banana in a proper way. Right now in China, we see in the offline setting very popular these big 3D LED screens, right? And they are super realistic. We see a lot of drones as well. We see a lot of hologram projections out in the streets in order to attract people's attention for retail, etc. And very often you also will see these QR codes floating in the skies, either in form of drones or holograms. Recently, a colleague shared from Shenzhen that you enter the Shenzhen MTR and there's this mist being poured down from the door. So you are entering the MTR and there's this mist that is in front of you, like a white screen, and on this mist you have the holographic projection, and it talks about Nongfu spring water, and then there's a huge QR code to scan in order to receive rewards or something else. So in terms of super apps, that's what they are. They are really a way for you to connect online and offline world, and before another device will come. Right now, our device with which we connect with the outside world is really our phone. But I have a strong conviction, same as many other China watchers that have that conviction, that this device that occupies our hands is going to go soon. We will need to have a smarter way to interact and bridge online and offline. It can be glasses, it can be something that's, I don't know, the contact lenses or a glove that you put on your hand. I don't know what it is right now, but essentially there will be a different way, and then those super apps will also evolve with time.
Yeah, I think you shared the other day on LinkedIn, someone wearing glasses, some kind of simulation, but it was really cool. I thought it was like, I don't know if you watched Ready Player One.
Yeah, I have watched Ready Player One. It's here.
Yes, exactly. So cool. So yeah, I think Yeah, just to sum up, if you were to say, the biggest trend or what you're seeing, and yeah, what do you think it's gonna, yeah.
Absolutely. So China is obviously evolving extremely fast, and there are so many trends in the market that are trends today, but no longer trends tomorrow. In a sense that tomorrow they just become, a way of life. For example, live streaming or short videos, or this kind of new retail integration, or even QR codes, LED screens, holograms, and drones. Right? They are no longer a trend. They are day-to-day kind of reality of life in China by now. So when it comes to where the market is going, I do see big movements and shifts towards healthier consumption, towards definitely, pet lovers. There's a lot more pet ownership, both in the younger generation, Gen Zs, and also older generation. China is aging very fast, one of the fastest aging countries in the world. And of course, that would mean that 10, 15, 20 years from now, it's going to be a very different country with very different needs. What else is happening? I mean, Gen Zs are obviously super fun. They're coming of age, and they are willing to pay for content. They're willing to pay for stars. And right now in China, we have this big scandal with fan economy. A few days ago, a big TV show in China that is selecting, essentially out of 100 boys, select a group of 6 that is going to be the next Backstreet Boys of China or something like that. And one of their darlings, one of their favorite contestants, had a PR crisis, and his fan group organized within one day 5 million RMB money collection. So if this money were to be used to vote for him, so he's not eliminated in the next round. Yes, and to vote for him, they essentially decided, because each person digitally only has 1 vote per day, so they decided to go through offline channel. That's very common in China. You would buy an offline product, for example, like yogurt box, and on the can of that yogurt box there will be QR code with a vote. So what they did, essentially, they bought 20,000 yogurt boxes, and they poured all the yogurt away just in order to vote essentially for the superstar. So the government obviously said that this is not the consumption behavior that we would like to encourage. So right now the whole fan economy is going through a difficult time, but there are a lot of Gen Zs and millennials, and they have their habits, and they are very much into stars, and we call it chasing stars, and they are very much into hero products. And there are those scandals up and down and PR crisis here and there, but essentially, yeah, keep watching the older generation in China, silver-haired Gen. Keep watching Gen Zs in China, because they are truly building a very different face of the country. And keep watching some of the health trends, pet trends, and also I would say green consumption trends in the market, fitness, green consumption in the market, because these are not going anywhere anytime soon.
All right, that was a fantastic way to sum this up. So Ashley, thank you. Well, just a moment. Thank you very much for this. Now the guys at Segmentify, they're going to record it, make it look nice, and well, I'll definitely give you a heads up when things are ready. I might share it like a small bit, if you don't mind. A small, like a micro video as well. And
sure.
But Ashley, thank you so much. And nice meeting you. Let me know if there's anything I can help you as well. So it's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Stay in touch, and glad to help. Let me know when it's out. Happy to see
Sure.
what came off it. And
Yeah.
Good luck with more interviews. Go get them all, and we're going to chat soon.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Carlos, bye. Have a great day.
Bye. Ciao. Bye.
Welcome to the e-commerce growth show, brought to you by Segmentify.